Mhm.
Testing,
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 testing.
testing.
Testing,
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 testing.
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 Testing, one,
Testing
two,
two,
testing,
testing
one,
one,
two.
two.
Test
Test
one,
one,
two,
two,
test
test
one,
one,
two.
two. Testing two, testing one, two.
Try it
Try it
again,
again,
try it
try it
again.
again. Test one, two, test one, two. Try it again, try it again. How about now?
That
That
sounds
sounds
better.
better.
All
All
right,
right,
here
here
we
we
go.
go.
Hit
Hit
forgive me,
forgive
I
me, I
just
just
want to
want to
prevent
prevent
ear
ear
rape
rape
for
for
everybody.
everybody.
So,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Figured I'd
We're
make
gonna
it
make
a
it a
little
little
bit
bit
easier
easier
on
on
your
your
ears.
ears.
This
This
should
should
be
be
a
a
heck
heck
of a
of a
lot
lot
better.
better.
Welcome,
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 welcome.
welcome.
Let me
Let
know
me
if
know
I
if I
sound
sound
like
like
super
super
echoey,
echoey,
and we'll
and
see
we'll
if
see
we
if we
can't
can't
dial it
dial it
in.
in.
Ever since
Ever
I
since I
got my
got my
PC
PC
back,
back,
like
like
things have
things have
just
just
been
been
kind of
kind of
strange.
strange.
So
So
right
right
now,
now,
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
adjust my
adjust my
audio
audio
as
as
needed.
needed.
Screen
Screen
transition.
transition.
Don't
Don't
do
do
anything
anything
with
with
screen
screen
transitions.
transitions.
All
All
right.
right.
Everything
Everything
sound
sound
okay?
okay?
I
I
just had
just had
everything
everything
like
like
dialed
dialed
into,
into,
which is
which
the
is the
real
real
shitty
shitty
part.
part.
Clean up
Clean
my
up my
charts
charts
here.
here.
Give you
Give you
guys a
guys a
few
few
more
more
minutes
minutes
for
for
everybody to
everybody to
migrate
migrate
over.
over.
hear what's
what's
happening,
happening,
Mike.
Mike.
So the
So the
latency is
latency's
a
a
little
little
off,
off,
but
but
I'll
I'll
take what
take
I
what
can
I
get
can get
right
right
now.
now.
I'm
I'm
looking
looking
for
for
clarity.
clarity.
All right,
All
let
right,
me
let me
see
see
real
real
quick.
quick.
So what
So
it
what it
is,
is,
it's the
it's the
microphone
microphone
sensitivity
sensitivity
on
on
this, and
this,
I
and I
can't
can't
remember
remember
what
what
settings
settings I would have
I've been
been
using.
using. So let me see. Filters, filters. Equalizer compressor. That's fine. Let's suppress them. Okay,
Okay,
yeah, yeah. Equalizer. Let's see. Let's drop it down a few decibels. All right. How about now? Okay. Sounding better. I'll give it like 2 more minutes, and then I'll try one last thing, and then fuck it. We ball. That should be good right there. Let me see. Okay, yeah, that should be much better.
See, 0 decibels. Okay, okay, okay. Okay,
Okay,
I
I
see,
see.
I
I
see,
see.
I
I
see
see.
where my error was. Okay,
Okay,
my bad, guys. I've been over here just talking to myself. So, my biggest apologies, guys. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and backtrack real fast. Ah, okay, okay, okay. Okay, this should be a lot better. Hmm. All right, so I'll go back to what I was talking about. So we are on a daily chart for USDT dominance. So, like I was saying, Electron likes to use the new stablecoin chart. I don't think there's enough data. The chart's only a few months old. I'm gonna need to see more time before I start using that one. So what I'm using instead is the tether chart, USDT.D. So this is the way that you see it is if this chart is pumping up and becomes bullish, the market will become bearish. So just let me get that part out of the way. Um, the reason why this is important, it helps you track the flow of money. So as many of you guys know, I do not use any indicators whatsoever. I look for structure, some patterns. I'll use RSI, but I do not consider that an indicator, but is more of a volume tracker, which, if I was on a trading floor, I would have available to me. So kind of using things like that. What I am noticing right now, and you guys may have heard the joke, Elon has called and he has canceled alt season. This is a statement to back it up. So this general area right here was our December levels, right? So December through February. And alts had 10 to 20x already by that point, just coming in from the summer. So things really started gaining traction in November. Things started pumping hard. We went up, and this is where we peaked for tether dominance, which was April. Most coins hit their yearly lows or their cycle lows since bear market on the 7th of April, which again aligns here. And then we started getting some relief, and we just kind of chopped down. So the thing I'm looking at right now that's a little bit concerning to me, and I really think it should be concerning for everybody, is from our low here. Oh, son of a bitch. Screw it. So from our low here to our bottoming out zone here, there's about a 5% difference. So almost 7%. So if trend lines and charting is to be believed, I think we hit our high, and we're gonna see something play out similar. We'll just even use this segment. So we'll just say this is April. This was April. This was December. We're not gonna get a parabolic move like we have in the past. We'll still get a move. Don't get me wrong. It won't be one of those crazy moves where you're gonna expect to see your favorite coin go from $1 to $50. I think at best we get right back up to December levels. And what I mean by that is only the strongest coins will put in new all-time highs or go higher, such as Ethereum. But what people fail to realize about Ethereum is, sorry about that. But what I was saying was what people failed, sorry about that. What I was saying was the reason why Ethereum is one of the exceptions to the rules is the simple fact that this is the coin that leads alt seasons. So everybody keeps saying, well, Solana is an alt. Sure, that's true. But Ethereum has Ethereum season, so money begins to flow into Ethereum. From Ethereum goes to high caps, then to mid caps, low caps, then memes. All these things that money will flow into are products of Ethereum. So if they're not a product of Ethereum, such as Sui, Solana, Hyperliquid, Pengu, they're not going to get the same benefits as Aave and Link and really every alt that was around prior to this current cycle. Sure, Solana was around, but it did not have the ecosystem that it did. So people keep saying, "Well, John, well, what about meme coin season?" Well, guess what? It will be Ethereum memes. So the ones you'll want to put your money on are going to be Pepe and Doge. Those are the king memes. They both belong to the Ethereum ecosystem, and we saw what Pepe did in December. And again, if you actually track it with Solana, you'll find this is when Ethereum hit its 4K. It'll align with that, and then you see right there on Christmas Eve, it was at 28,222, and now it's currently at 10,966. I don't know if we get that same type of return, but I would probably say 20, 2987 would probably be a very fair number to estimate that, yeah, this is what we'll get. And I do not see anything wrong with that at all. That is still a substantial gain. If I were to take this and let's just target those highs, it's a 91% increase from where it's at. So, I mean, realistically, if you threw $1 at Pepe and just had a spot buy for it, you'll have some decent returns still off $1. It won't be thousands, but you might, let's say, you spot buy $1, you might have $10, which is or $9, which is still a phenomenal return considering the investment that was made. Let's see. Looking at Bitcoin, look at that. God damn, dude. That is sexy. Oh, you guys aren't supposed to see this yet. I am preparing something, but I'm not done tweaking it yet. Anyways, we'll act like we didn't see that. So, a reason why I use patterns now, keep in mind there are certainly much, much better ways to trade than patterns. Patterns aren't something you should rely on solely by any means. Like I said, which is why I will always put structure first before I put a pattern. So that being said, there are certain patterns that every trader will have a good use for. For example, like the double top pattern. There is not a single trader that I have ever come across that slept on this pattern. They had the all-time high here, and then we hit another all-time high, but more or less, it was identical top. So especially if you look at where the candles close, that is a good way to look at things. So let me see. So when I look for a double top, I'm not necessarily looking for the wicks. I'm looking where the candles close. Excuse me, my wife is calling. Hello? Mhm. Hello? Oh no. Oh no, thank you. Very sorry about that. I was teaching. No, I was teaching my class. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine, baby. Yes, we can. Yeah. Well, we don't need any water or anything big, so we'll probably just go to Walmart. So if that works for you. Oh shoot, I can go with you on Monday when you get home. Mm. Oh yes, 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 yes. Of course, of course. We'll go Tuesday after work, and we'll just kind of play it by ear. Oh, no worries. That works. Yeah, no, that's fine, babe. I know. No, you're fine. You're fine. I'm so sorry. Oh shit. Sorry, babe. No worries, babe. All right, I love you. Go ahead. Oh, we'll do. I love you. No, you're fine. Bye. All right, sorry about that, guys. That was a quick phone call. But what I was looking at is where the candles actually closed. Even though the high was very different, the closure is what was important. So be a little bit more specific there. So the double top pattern. I would anticipate we see a very similar move. So what I'm going to be looking for is closure at this level here. So we already have our first top in. I think we dump. We'll probably go right around maybe 106. I still think there's a very good chance to see 88,000, but 106 would still be a very fine number for us to hit, or at the very least, maybe, I don't know. I still kind of want to be below 100K because I think that would give us another really good long opportunity on a lot of altcoins. So, that being said, we are very, very close. We are very close to hitting a really key inflection point. So, what I will look at for is when Bitcoin inevitably comes back down to the 106. I almost kind of anticipate something like this. Kind of anticipate something like a deviation. So we'll see it break through there, maybe chop down a little bit, then come back up, bounce around here a little bit, maybe, and then we're going to see what it does. It's going to go either down, and we're going to see around 90K, or it's going to recover, and we put in our new all-time high. And again, I would expect an all-time high to be in the form of a wick, not a candle closure. So if that makes sense to you guys, fantastic. Clean up this garbage. So, like I said, our candle closure top has already been put in. Now we are going to be waiting for our wick to the upside. And just kind of going back here. If we go back here on the daily, we went from 107, which is like right around here, 108. We came all the way down to 96, 91, rebounded from there, came up just shy of 100K, short lived, came back down. And then I remember when we reclaimed the 100K level, it was fucking nuts. But we're gonna come back up, see the extra wick, and then we're gonna descend into, instead of being about 30%, I think we will descend into our bear market after this next top. So again, the end is very near. And you know what? So it's 46% drop. But this has certainly been a very fun ride, considering I was unfortunate enough to start trading here. Poor
Poor
bastard.
bastard.
So
So
I
I
would
would
have
have
probably have
probably
started
started
buying
buying
somewhere
somewhere
around
around
here
here
just to
just to
watch
watch
things
things
drop and
drop
be
and
like,
be like,
oh
oh
shit,
shit,
my
my
money.
money.
And for
And
it
for
to
it to
come
come
back
back
and
and
the
the
roller
roller
coaster,
coaster,
man.
man.
The
The
roller
roller
coaster.
coaster.
This
This
was
was
an
an
FOMC
FOMC
event
event
when
when
Gary
Gary
Gensler
Gensler
was
was
told,
told,
said
said
no
no
rate
rate
cuts,
cuts,
and
and
the
the
market
market
wasn't
wasn't
happy.
happy.
And
And
then
then
we
we
dropped,
dropped.
and I
And I
just
just
remember
remember
probably
probably
right
right
around
around
here.
here.
This
This
is
is
like
like
Father's
Father's
Day.
Day.
Father's
Father's
Day
Day
weekend
weekend
because
because
I
I
remember
remember
that
that
crazy
crazy
fucking
fucking
scam
scam
pump.
pump.
Also
Also
be
be
double
double
bottom.
bottom.
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so.
so.
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
Bitcoin's
Bitcoin's
forming a
forming a
double
double
bottom
bottom
because
because
if you
if you
think
think
about
about
where
where
we're
we're
at
at
currently
currently
in
in
the
the
cycle,
cycle,
let's
let's
see.
see.
If
If
we're
we're
gonna
gonna
get a
get a
double
double
bottom,
bottom,
we
we
need
need
to
to
close
close
the
the
candle
candle
here.
here.
So
So
right
right
now
now
it's
it's
too
too
soon
soon
to
to
tell,
tell,
but
but
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
we're
we're
putting
putting
it
it
in.
in.
It's
It's
too
too
late in
late
the
in the
cycle
cycle
for a
for a
double
double
bottom,
bottom,
and
and
a
a
double
double
bottom
bottom
normally
normally
happens
happens
at
at
the
the
end
end
of
of
a
a
downtrend
downtrend
rather
rather
than
than
just
just
sporadically
sporadically
like
like
that.
that.
Like we
We
haven't
haven't
experienced
experienced
the
the
double
double
bottom.
bottom.
Does
Does
that
that
make
make
sense?
sense?
Like
Like
we
we
haven't
haven't
dropped.
dropped.
So
So
when we
when we
got
got
our
our
double
double
bottom,
bottoms,
let me see.
and
And
the
double
double
bottoms
bottoms
will
will
typically
typically
happen
happen
in
in
bear
bear
market,
market,
but
but
this
this
was
was
very,
very,
very
very
similar
similar
to a
to a
double
double
bottom.
bottom.
This
This
was
was
actually
actually
the
the
end
end
of
of
our
our
downtrend.
downtrend.
So
So
like
like
so
so
when
when
we
we
came
came
up
up
from
from
like
like
the
the
109 and
and
down
down
to
to
the
the
74th,
74th,
you
you
would
would
have
have
seen
seen
a
a
double
double
bottom
bottom
there.
there.
So
So
you
you
would
would
have
have
seen
seen
two
two
perfect
perfect
bottoms,
bottoms,
right?
right?
Just
Just
like
like
a
a
double
double
top
top
happens
happens
at
at
the
the
end
end
of
of
an
an
uptrend.
uptrend.
It
It
cannot
cannot
happen
happen
down
down
right
right
here.
here.
So
So
it
it
would
would
have
have
to
to
fully
make
make its
its
full
full
play
play
and
and
then
then
come
come
down
down,
and
and
then
then
begin
begin
its
its
descent
descent,
and
and
then
then
recovery
recovery,
and
and
then
then
descent
descent
again.
again.
And a
And a
lot of
lot of
people
people
will
will
mix
mix
up
up
double
double
bottoms
bottoms
and
and
double
double
tops
tops with
Quasimodos
Quasimodos
or
or
QMs.
QMs.
Let me see something real quick. Go to Google real fast. Here we go. Paste.
What I want.
Here we go. So a
So a
lot
lot
of
of
people
people
will
will
confuse
confuse
the
the
two.
two.
They are
They're
very
very
similar
similar
in
in
the
the
way
way
that
that
they
they
are
are
structured
structured
and the
and the
way
way
they
they
take
take
shape.
shape.
And
And
a
a
good
good
easy
easy
way
way
to
to
like
like
point
point
them
them
out
out
is
is
to
to
understand
understand
what
what
the
the
formation
formation
is,
is,
right?
right?
So
So
this
this
right
right
here
here
is
is
a
a
double
double
top,
top,
right?
right?
So
So
your
your
top,
top,
your
your
candles
candles
close
close
at
at
the
the
exact
exact
same,
same,
and
and
then
then
your
your
candles
candles
at
at
the
the
neckline
neckline
close.
close.
What a
What a
lot
lot
of
of
people
people
will
will
see
see
on
on
these,
these,
and
and
this
this
is
is
we'll
we'll
use
use
a
a
bearish
bearish
Quasimodo,
Quasimodo,
is
is
you
you
got
got
your
your
high,
high,
you
you
have
have
your
your
swing
swing
high,
high,
your
your
swing
swing
low,
low,
your
your
higher
higher
high,
high,
but you
but you
see
see
right
right
here
here
where
where
your
your
neckline's
neckline's
broken,
broken,
the
the
candle
candle
closes
closes
below
below
it
it
to
to
resume
resume
up
up
to
to
the
the
same
same
shoulder
shoulder
point.
point.
But
But
because
because
it
it
did
did
not
not
respect
respect
the
the
neckline,
neckline,
it
it
is
is
not
not
a
a
double
double
top,
top,
but
but
rather
rather
a
a
QM.
QM.
Same
Same
thing
thing
when
when
people
people
think
think
they
they
see
see
double
double
bottoms.
bottoms.
So
So
let's
let's
go
go
back
back
to
to
April.
April.
So
So
for
for
example,
example,
here,
here,
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
people
people
were
were
calling
calling
this
this
a
a
double
double
bottom.
bottom.
No.
No.
So
So
we
we
had
had
our
our
swing
swing
low,
low,
which
which
ended
ended
right
right
here,
here,
right?
right?
Then
Then
we
we
put
put
in
in
our
our
high,
high,
then
then
we
we
put
put
in a
in a
lower
lower
low,
low,
then
then
we
we
put
put
in
in
a
a
similar
similar
high,
high,
and then
and
a
then a
similar
similar
low,
low,
and
and
then
then
we
we
bounce
bounce
back
back
up.
up.
So
So
the
the
neckline
neckline
is
is
everything
everything
with
with
these
these
patterns,
patterns,
and
and
it's
it's
very
very
important
important
not
not
to
to
confuse
confuse
the
the
two.
two.
Like I said, oftentimes what happens is people confuse them, and they will unfortunately give themselves bad TA because they didn't understand what it was that they were looking at. So if you see anybody saying, "Hey, there's a double top, double bottom," you're gonna look at the neckline. So what I am seeing here currently, we are not putting in a double bottom for Bitcoin. And like I said, aside from the trend or from the like where we're at, just the simple idea of this. We've already closed below the neckline slightly, but it was a candle closure. So this one right here closes inside of it. This one right here just kind of peaks right below the neckline. I know it's nitpicky, but I don't make the rules, man. I do not make the rules. Because if we were to get a double bottom, that would put us like right around 150K, and I don't think the global liquidity is there yet. All right, moving on. So for Bitcoin, those are my thoughts. And that's what I think will happen. I think that's how we close. That's how we begin our descent into bear market. But I still think we have at least another 2 months or so before we really have to be any kind of concerned with it. And just kind of go from there. All right. So, all right. So, any questions about like that particular pattern, double tops, double bottoms, anything like that? Give you guys a minute to ask questions. All right. Mhm. All right, moving on. If you do have a question, I will come back through chat and I will do my best to answer them. Um, all right, so again, we've already looked at all that. Now let's look at some pairings. Is it a BTC ETH? I think I did it backwards. Oh, okay, yeah, I can do that. So for fair value gaps, what you want to do is there's no particular time frame. It's all about the alignment. So for example, in the ICT 101, you'll find something that's called time frame alignment. So for example, the majority of my trades are based off the 4 hour time frame, right? So the chart that you want to start looking for your FEGs for the 4 hour will be the 1 week for confluence. These are the two that mirror each other the most. So for example, we're going to look here. I'll show you. So we have the end of our liquidity wick there. And let's just go here at 88K. Right? So I'm going to find my FVG right here on the weekly. Now, what I'll do is, so that is still a fair value gap, but what I'm going to do is break it down to a lower time frame into the 4 hour, and I'm going to see where it best lines up. So this is how I find my entries. So I see the support line, but if I'm going to try to find perfect entries, I am now going to dial it in there. So I would look to long from 90,000 and DCA at 88, 870. So that's where I would look to long. So the play would look something like, make sure I got the right one. Nope. And then what I'll do for my stop loss is I'm going to use liquidity for my stop losses. So luckily for me, I don't have far to look. Probably gonna look at like 86,000, 87,000. So you see that wick right there? That is what I would call untouched liquidity. We have not stopped since we left that zone, right? So normally when you look here, here's where liquidity is deposited. We went up, we revisited, absorbed that liquidity, and resumed our way higher. So if you look at your candlesticks and actually look at them and understand them, you'll be able to get an idea of which way the direction is opening. Like with the 4 hour, if the candle typically opens bullish, and like let's say this candle opens and it hits here, and this part is a flat bottom, I know it'll hit, and as it starts dropping, I know to short. Same way going backwards. If the candle opens and just goes straight down, I know it's going to come back up and close in the positive. But yeah, if I was gonna do something, make a play on Bitcoin that was worth anything, like I said, long at around 90,000 DC 88, and then relong to 125. That is what I would look to do. So, with a tight stop loss. Or shoot, man, you could even relong to 124K. That would be fine because look at that trade. Your risk to reward, keep forgetting on my phone, is it's a 6 RR, 6.17 RR. And like I said, keep your your stop loss tight because if you're wrong small, but if you're right big. Does that make sense? And if you want to use something with like a different time frame alignment, for example, if you're using a 1 hour graph, and that's what you like is the 1 hour, then you use for confluence for the 1 day to find your FPGs. And that's where you'll find your entries. If you like using 4 hour for your high time frame, then your confluence will be 15 minutes. So I mean, there's a whole section like I'll point it out in the Discord and I'll forward it into the main chat. So I'll give us a couple more minutes. So I might even share the setup. Ah, what the hell? You dirty whore. Okay. Okay, here we go, here we go. It's gonna turn that red. No, not orange, red. Alright, so now as far as let me God damn it. Okay, let me just get to the place where I want to be. There might be instances where these fair value gaps aren't visited, but if they do visit, then do you look for it to make a swing low and then enter the trade? So for FEGs, what I am looking for out of them is I'm going to trade with the trend on those. Because if the trend is bullish overall on higher time frames, then sweet. I am going to look to long rather than try to find a top. Now, if the trend is bearish, then I will look to short. And I will look to close my trade at the FVGs and let them consolidate a little bit, like right here. So if trend was bearish, and let's say I entered my short here at 111, and I'm going to go to 90,000, that's my target. So I'm going to enter my short once I confirm trend, the impulsive wave is done, and we've begun our corrective wave. So if I am looking for the trade, so right here, I know now because it's already happened. I know now that, okay, perfect, 111 was the top, but I don't know that. So what I'm going to look for is I'm going to wait for candle closures. So I'm going to look for a plateau, right? And then I'm going to let candles close. I'm going to be patient. So 4, 8, 12 hours. So let's say I wind up getting into the trade and saying, okay, perfect. I'm going to get in this trade at 109. I'm going to miss $2,000. No big deal. Because I could have easily have gone up rather than down, but I have my confirmation right here on this candle. So then I will begin to short, and I will use this 90,000 as my target, and I'll take profits along the way. But I will fully close my trade at 90,000 rather than being greedy. That's if trend is bearish. But right now trend is bullish. So what I'll do is, because I have a pretty good idea where the bottom's at. So what I will do is I will be patient and I will wait. There we go. So like I said, I will simply wait. And there's nothing wrong with waiting. And I'm going to look for longs for Bitcoin here. Like I will melt everybody's faces and you guys will essentially see how I will construct this long. So what I'm going to do now is set take profit points. So this is another ICT method because a lot of people they'll wait to take profits. Like I know some traders they'll take profits at 1 RR. So for example, if I were that type of trader, my first take profit point would be right there at 96. Problem for with 96 for me though is it's trimming 20% and not getting the gain. But what you can see, it hits the top of this order block, which again, I don't disagree with this that particular trade. I think that is still a very solid sound trade and it aligns with a lot of the things that I look for when I do take profits. So perfect. We got 1 RR trade. So we have covered our bet. So now we'll look for 2 RR. So let's see what I think about this. So $1,000. I don't hate that. We were just above. Mhm. So that would mean my next take profit point would be at 101,471, which is right at the bottom of this order block or demand zone or supply, right here at the bottom of the supply zone. So because I am aiming much higher, what I'll probably do is skip the 2 RR profit and I will then take profit right here at 106, which is 10,000 more dollars than where I was at, right? So continuing, take some more profits. And check this out. I'll even post this in the private trades channel. So this way you guys can, if you want to take this trade by all means, please do. At least you'll know the why. So let's find 4 5 hour. But because I am going to be alternating these trades, these RRs, you're gonna expect to see some turbulence. You know, screw it, dude. We probably really could throw in another take profit point right there at 4 RR. I want to see 20% all the way through. Because normally what I do is I trim 20%. The next one I'll trim 20% of what's left out of that trade, and then I'll trim 50/50. Gotta make the ends worth it, right? But you see how simple it is to set take profit points because doesn't this all make sense to you now? And again, this is actually a terrible stop loss point. Holy shit. But what I was looking at is the support right here from this supply zone. This is what will send me. So you know what? Fuck it. We ball hard. So this is the Bitcoin long trade, and you have now seen it here first. Let me kick that out. Watch this, and then I'll post this right now too inside private trades real quick for us. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. You son of a bitch. Bitch. Hate this thing. And again, I will leave time to ask questions. Also, keep in mind, guys, if you will have a coin that you would like to analyze, I do take coin requests. Fuck it. I'll do it this way. So this will give you guys a second. You know, this is actually how I started giving signals was by sitting on my YouTube channel with Tulsa and Spunky. We sat in a channel and we started drawing stuff out together, and we all learned together. So that was kind of cool. And I was just taking a little bit of the knowledge, and we all learned together, and things were really nice. So, like I said, I have that trade. This trade is now posted in the Discord, guys. So if you want to analyze it and look at it, so when you see my take profit points, you know how and why. Crypto market, that's 24 hours. What does Asia Open, etc. got to do? Oh, as far as like, what do you mean? Like, what do they have to do? Because Asia opens in 2 hours and 40 minutes for me. It starts with Japan, and then about an hour later, then I have Shanghai, and then 6 hours after that, I have London open, and then 6.5 hours after that, I have New York Stock Exchange open. Are you just wondering, like, what do the major financial markets have to do with anything? Let me see. I don't even like this stuff. I'm gonna read the salon real quick, and we'll start aligning some time frames. Oh, because easy. Because what do rich people do? They spend money. Who funds the stock markets? Rich people. So they will be trading at higher volumes. So even though an ETF has no direct correlation with the actual asset itself, the people that trade the assets aren't just simply trading during market hours. You know what I mean? They have their own little side hustles going on. So if I gave my hedge fund $1 million to invest, getting real tired of this shit. Sorry about that. My microphone decided to be silly. But basically, if I have $1 million that I give to my hedge fund manager, right? Perfect. That's now a business expense. But let's say I want to make money independently from the people that run my hedge fund or that went in on the investment with me. And I'm going to take my own $1 million and just follow what my hedge fund does. So if you have smart money, that's the hedge funds, that's the brokers, that's the financial firms. I am going to simply follow them because they're already spending my money. I get notified the second they spend my money because we don't know that they've spent the money until minutes after the fact, which in the world of finance is an eternity. So basically, it's just simply following the institutional order flow. So again, if I longed here and I knew my firm was going to sell here because they already have their sell orders set up, I am now going to put my sell order here and trade with the smart money because the smart money is powered by my money. However, we are not so fortunate and we are considered dumb money because we're just standard retail. We're not whales. So as far as like what do they have to do with anything, that's kind of what it is in short. So let's go ahead and let's start aligning some time frames, shall we, for Solana. What I like about this one right here is we've already been substantially higher. So mention here. If we do see a small leg up beforehand, I forget who it was asking me about Solana, but this is where I would look for my entries. And then maybe DCA as needed depending on your leverage up to this point and use this as a stop loss. Right? And then what I'm going to be looking for now is an FEG below. I've seen the number 165 thrown around a lot. So that makes sense. So truthfully, if I wanted the most return on my investment, I am going to look to long Solana at these levels here. And again, DCA as needed. because this isn't a trade that I will be taught. I will be setting a limit order for now, but that is a very good level to do so. Maybe do something like this. Figure if I throw $50 at each entry, then $100 easily. Because by the time I hit take profit one, I'm already profited $100, and then throw 15 there. Kind of mad take climactic for so long, but I see why. Because Bitcoin strength, the dominance is weak. Like this right here would actually be a pretty safe trade. So you don't necessarily have to take all the same take profit points. But if I were to want to maximize my money and I was confident in this trade, then yeah, I would probably do something like that. But I haven't even aligned my time frame yet with the 4 hour. Which I am don't think I had to. What do you think about LVO right now? I'm going to buy around 139. Do you think that would be good? Let's take a look at LVO. So this is just me spitballing the chart. I forget what I was looking at it for, but this was like maybe 2 weeks ago because I had him enter here at this bottom one and fucking went up like 20 cents. So if he took that trade and let's say he did like a 10 to 15x leverage, that guy would have made some fucking money. Which at Axion, that's kind of the end game right there. We want you guys to be fucking stupid rich. It's like no offense to anybody, but man, isn't that why we're here? Is to make some money. So let's see the weekly. So what keeps me from really getting a more exact number for this is the width. So right there to let's see. No, that FEG's already been filled. Let's see. LVO so new. Alright, so I can't use my conventional. So take what I'm about to show you with a grain of salt because I rarely trade on these this time frame alignment. So LDO. Oh my God, did I hit the nail right on the head the first time I looked at it? I would say $1.10 in DCA until you hit 96. And maybe put a stop loss here. And if you absolutely, and I mean absolutely, had to take an additional DCA, I would do it right here. Oh, wait. I think I found our entry, baby. There it is. 69 cents. Maybe you can do this just to really create maximum exposure. So this is not very often that I ever encourage a third DCA, but this is one of those exceptions. So you would look to create exposure here, and you see that wick right there? So in the middle of it, because it's ever been retested, that is called a consequential encroachment. So right in the middle of the biggest wick, right, that hasn't been retouched, because if you look here, so 131.73 to 111.42. So we hit the middle at 122.77 and continue to go up. We never did that here in this candle. So best case, the Bitcoin deal dominance is too weak to really force anything, and then we launch from here, or dominant surges, we hit entry and DCA and go to there, and worst case, which still isn't worse, we go here, hit and bounce off of that point, and we move higher. I always look at the worst case scenario because if I look at worst case scenario, I'm not surprised when things don't go my way. Does that make sense? But that's where the areas where I would look for LDO. And then, like I said, then I would begin targeting. Let's see. We just swept previous range lows, so we took out the highs here, hit the order block and came back down. So what I would maybe look to do would be to target this area here right around $2. So I would look to target here to, and maybe if I was going to leave a runner, I would leave my runner running here at 248.78 because the odds of it going any higher than that, I don't think are going to be very likely. And that's just, it's a safe, smart trade with massive R&R. So if you put 100, let's say you're balling hard, or you're really even taking something you do $20 here, 25. God damn it. All right, sorry about that. I'm getting tired of that fucking microphone. So if you threw $60 at this trade, $20, $20, $20, 5, 8, 16. Which is still a heck of a lot more than what you usually had. So for that, I like that trade setup. All right, so like I was saying, if you did $20 here, $20 here, $20 here, that's 60. Let's say it hits the 248, that becomes 180. Or you could do it like this. If you have, let's say $60 total, you throw in 10, 20, and then $30. So you bring your average way down here rather than sitting right there in the middle by doing equal parts. You can potentially 3x your money on just this one trade setup alone, right? Because bear in mind, you have more than $60. You are going to be entering more than one trade. The Bitcoin trade, as solid as it is, will not be as profitable as an LDO trade. It simply won't. Mhm. Look at that, already blowing people's minds. I know. So Is there any other requests? Otherwise, I'm gonna wrap this stream up, guys. Like I said, then I'll probably just work on my audio. I may do a second broadcast later in about maybe 8 hours. If not, I'll try to get another broadcast in tomorrow since it's my day off, and until my wife gets home, and then yeah, we'll just kind of go from there. But if anybody does have a coin they'd like looked at, please let me know now. I'm happy to do it. So this way, I can take it in the call request channel, or I can take it here. Mhm. I did. I can look at Tia for you, man. Let's take a look. Tia. I fucking hate Tia. Give me a second here. I need a special representation for Tia. This one looks good. It's clean enough, right? There we go. Yep. So for Tia. So what I anticipate is for it to come back down here, right? And you're gonna put it in a lower low, and then we're gonna get the hopium going, the sweet, sweet hopium, right? Oh shit, we're gonna go to the moon, boys, to the moon. And then we're gonna see Tia just fucking straight in the fucking toilet. That's what's gonna happen with Tia. Take a screenshot, boys. Tia's fucking garbage, man. I hate it so much, but let's take a look, though. Take a serious look. No, it's not the fundamentals. It's the token itself. It's not very strong. So if you actually look at it, look how long it's been in its current downtrend. It never broke back out. So this was February of last year levels. So February 2024. And I remember in December because December will be right about here. Yep, sure enough. So it's just been in a weird downtrend. The only times it's broken out is like stuff like this weekend price action. Or this is a daily, so I mean, this is a fucking breakout for Tia. It's finally broken its almost 2 year downtrend. The coin is dead. I'm sorry to say, it is dead. So, like I said, you can see the analysis don't lie. Started off strong, got really popular, hit $20, and then just never recovered. We even have the Holy Trinity, the three touches to validate the trend. So, look at it. It's like a fucking lazy guy. It broke out and I was like, oh god, I'm fucking too lazy, and just like rolled. Yeah, no, Tia's just it's not a sound investment. And like I said, you can kind of see like for Tia to recover, you would need the most dramatic thing to happen. I don't know much about it. Like I said, I know this that it's not a good investment. You will never get back the money that you've lost by trading Tia. unless you're going nuts and you want to trade a dollar at a time at 100x a million times. It's the only way you'll get your money back. And you're literally, your trades are gonna live and die inside candles like this, right there. That is the only way because if you look, there are no godlike candles really, except for here, and this was back in November. So Tia was still fairly relevant because it had hit its high 7 months earlier. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have the juice. So that being said, if I was an investor in Tia, this is what I would look to do. Let me see if there's any lower points real fast. Nope, there's no lower points. We have the dinosaur. So Tia has been putting in new all-time lows. Let's see. I mean, you got a wedge at least. Has put in all-time lows since it fell below $2.10. So to put in newer all-time lows is the worst thing that you can see out of a chart because more frequent it puts in the all-time lows such as now, this should be one of the strongest points in Tia's entire lifespan. Should be right now. We should have seen some solid movement, but instead it jumped up, went from $1.80 or a dollar or $2.10, and its parabolic move was 338, right? Which is still solid. It's a really solid return. So like $1.20. But again, when I compare it to coins such as, let me find one that's common enough. Let's find Dot because Dot lives a very similar lifestyle to Tia. I traded a Dot a lot. Like I said, it's in that same kind of downtrend, but its feats of strength are very similar. So my hope for it is, like you said, you saw. Ah. Okay. All right, I'm back. I'm back. And I'm back. Sorry about that. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I haven't used my audio equipment in so long that it's like just kind of rusty. So with Dot, the only thing that Dot really has going for it, because I don't think we see this type of strength. We're not going to see a $50 Dot ever again. It's not going to work. What separates Dot from Tia, however, is this one simple realization. All-time low for Dot was its inception when it was released, which was $2.88, 887, right? I would have been trading this thing since April, right? Back when we were down at these other levels. I remember thinking to myself right around here, holy shit, we're going to make an all-time low. We didn't, we recovered, and it's shown decent strength. So it's something that's still worth trading. It's just the ROI isn't going to be there the same way it'll be with SUI and Link, FET even, because even though FET isn't doing all that great, in theory, it's still living its first cycle. So, so I called the bottom for FET. I called this, not here, but like in April, I called the perfect bottom. I had shared it with Spunky like a month before it actually hit. I posted like a week before it actually hit. I just remember people thinking I was fucking nuts. I can even share the screenshot. Spunky's like, "Oh, I like how it drops 20%." Right? And guess what it did? It fucking dropped 20%. It dropped like 20.05%. And I shared it on this day here. And that's where it hit. 5493. It was one of the first calls I put in the free channels section. And then it went from 54 cents to nearly a dollar again. Almost doubled. Before that move, I had called this move. Let me see. So where we are, it was in May, because this is when I started auditioning for the free calls channel. I had called the move literally from here to over a dollar, or it was just under a dollar, right there. I think my target was like $1.05 or $1.03, but I came very close. Took two or three take profits. So Tia, like I said, unfortunately, it's not in the cards for it. It's something that until I can see a good show of strength from it, I will not be touching it. And I think for it to show a good show of strength, it's gonna need a very, very cataclysmic event to happen for it. Otherwise, it's just not going to survive. And we will watch it until it literally hits a fraction of a penny. So it reminds me of this. Except we know the cataclysm for this. So right now it's trading at a thousandth of a penny. What people don't realize about this thing is at its peak in 2022, or really even when I started trading, look, it looks like a parabolic move, right? But it's still a thousandth of a penny. And just continuing to go. And I've talked to people who traded this during the, I don't know, I guess you'd call it a golden era. Ah, shit. It's because it's classic. Mhm. So this is what it was before it was Luna Classic. And I will show you the biggest heartbreak in the entire world of crypto. So here we are at 3 cents, cool, whatever. But you can see the moment that it began to fail. Even then, this isn't even the one. Let me see. And again, I don't know if you're familiar with Luna at all. You know, let's just look it up like this. Here we go. So here is the token before Luna Classic, right? Started off like any other thing. Start its initial offering price. And I know a guy who actually, this was his baby. Its initial offering price was 14 cents and then got popular. Hit $21 in March of 21. Then summertime came, right? And then just fucking absolutely went to the moon. Keep in mind, each one of these bars is a week, by the way. So maybe for more dramatic effect, we'll do the daily. I mean, just a regular bull cycle. Hit $21, had a little dip for the summer, and then went absolutely fucking insane until December, right? And that was supposed to be a cycle for it. It was gonna go into bear market. We hit, and then this is when all the utility news came by. And one of the guys in Axion actually explained to me like the feeling of the sentiment towards it because again, still not an all-time high at $100, $103. Went down, supposed to be a bear market, whatever, right? So Bitcoin would drop 20% and Luna would rise 50%. So it dropped down to, let's see, $43.71. That was its lowest. And bear in mind that that's to be expected in bear market. And then had a meteoric rise again to $120. So it 2x itself. And then all the shit with Do Kwon went down. So it went from $120 down to 77. People are like, oh shit. But people are still holding because they believe the bullshit. And then when they see a little bounce like this that gets it back to $100, people start to stop panicking, like, okay, it's just a dip, whatever. And then you can see it because no, you are not recovering. And people see this grind and they're like, okay, yeah, no, there's time, yada, yada, yada. And then just from $85 to 75 cents in inside of a week, right? So people think, okay, it's done. This is our bear market price. And some of these people still held it. So at 31 cents. And I just showed you what it's valued at now, and it just consolidated. It got bought again, which is what blows my mind. Do Kwan's still in prison. It had little rallies too. It went from 31 cents to where we're at now at 15 cents. It is delisted off most exchanges. And this is what a dead coin looks like. But even then though, it launched at 14 cents and only barely went below, only recently created a all-time low at 12 cents. So a 2 cent move. And this is what bull markets look like for Terra now. So see, that's December 24, got up to 80 cents. In June of 24, 83 cents. And now next bull market, it'll be lucky to hit the level it's at now at 15 cents. So this was the fourth largest market cap in all of crypto. And this is what happened to it. So check it out. I will post a video inside of Action for you so you can see it. But tell me the similarities aren't striking with Tia. It's a little consolidation period and then drops to create a new all-time low. So to analyze Tia, I look at other coins for confluence. So I will leave you guys with that. Like I said, if you guys have any requests, just ask me in coin requests and I will be happy to look at them for you. Thanks, guys.